From the Ear to There Travel Studio, this is the Ear to There Disney Podcast.
Welcome aboard the Ear to There Podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There Disney Podcast. I'm your host, your MC, your hostess with the mostess. I'm the host, Phil Gramlich. I am also the owner and the operator of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney specialized travel agency. It is my job to take away all of that stress, all that anxiety, and all that time that it takes to plan a Disney trip. Because yes, these days planning a trip takes an awful lot of time so that you can focus on the fun things like having a great time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. And I do all of that for free, right? So from finding you the best possible deal on your hotel, your resort reservation, to booking your fast passes, your dining plan, your special event tickets, arranging transportation, getting tickets to Shudder, other theme parks in the Orlando area. I do all of that at absolutely no extra charge to you. So think of me as the Alfred to your Batman. I'm not going to make any of those huge decisions for you, but I'll be right there behind you with a nice warm bowl of soup whenever you need it. That's a good analogy, right? Okay. You can find this podcast, my blog, or request a free, no obligation quote over at ear2theretravel.com. Alrighty, this is episode number 106 for the week of January 15th, 2018. Now, grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. Of course, before I get into the main topic of today's show, it is time for the What About Bob segment of the show. Did I say the show? I'm getting strange in my old age. So it's time for What About Bob? And what that means is Bob Gurr, the retired Disney Imagineer and Disney legend, the man who brought us things like both monorails, the Matterhorn, the Doom Buggies, the Autopia, the submarines, all of those Main Street vehicles, the Doom Buggies, you name it. If it's on wheels, Bob built it. He brought us all of those things in Disneyland and Walt Disney World. And each and every week, he stops by the show to answer your questions. If you have a question that you really want Bob to answer, you can call it in. The voice line number where you can call that in is 267-551-1971. Or you can always feel free to email me that question at phil@ear2theretravel.com or send it to me on Facebook or any of those social media platforms. And if it's not offensive, I will get it to Bob and he will answer it on an upcoming episode of the show. All right, so without further ado, I bring you Disney legend Bob Gurr.
It's What About Bob? Bob Gurr, the legend, creator of the Matterhorn, the monorails and the Haunted Mansion. What about Bob, the Disney legend?
All right, Bob, this question is from Megan in New York. She wants to know if Walt Disney could walk through the Magic Kingdom specifically today. Is there anything he wouldn't enjoy or anything he would want to change?
I get these questions all the time where people say, what would Walt think? Because even long after Walt had passed away, people would always discuss inside Imagineering. Well, what would Walt want? Well, I'll tell you what, I worked with him for 12 years, and you can look him right in the eye, and you have no idea what he's thinking, and there's no idea how you could forecast his next thought. So it's completely moot for me to attempt to answer a question by saying, well, if Walt was here today, he would like this or not like that, or he'd do this or do that or do something different. But if I had to answer that question, I'd have to say Walt would be constantly looking for the latest new technology in order to tell good stories even better.
I love that answer to the what would Walt do question. or what would Walt want? Because so many people think they know, but they're not Walt Disney, so they don't know. So I love Bob's answer. So thank you again to Bob for answering yet another question on the show. What a thrill. I mean, I say it every week, but what a thrill it is for me to talk to just a genius of a guy and such a nice guy. It's incredible. It's an incredible thing. And I'm so lucky and honored I get to do that every week. And thank you to Megan for your question. It's so cool that people are at least emailing in the questions. I don't get a lot of people calling them in. I think you get a little stage fright there. But thank you for emailing your question in. And I don't think I mentioned it at the outset. So the What About Bob segment of the show is brought to you by the Waltland Bus Tour. Each and every month, Bob narrates and hosts a group on a bus tour of Glendale, Burbank, and Los Angeles, California. He goes all over the place and checks out all the important sites in the history of the Disney company and, of course, important spots in the history of the life of Walt Disney. Bob wants you to take the tour. He wants you to come and see him. So to get tickets for that tour, just head over to waltland.com. All right, now on to episode 106. I'll freely admit that I have a problem. You know what? I'll go as far as to call it an addiction. It's not a habit at this point. It's been years in the making. So yeah, it's a full-out Disney addiction, especially a Disney theme parks addiction. And you know what? If that's a bad addiction, I don't want the remedy. I don't want the antidote. And you're probably a little like me, right? You're listening to this episode right now, whether you're on the treadmill, good for you, in your car, go to work, sitting at your computer like I do all the time. That's great too. But wherever you are listening to this, you are probably a lot more like me than you are like that person that can't stand Disney or that Disney isn't even on their radar, right? That's who this episode is geared for. Well, This episode is all about how to get the non-Disney fan excited for a Disney trip. Specifically, we're talking about Walt Disney World here. And I know you've probably, as a huge Disney fan, you've run into this problem already. And if you haven't, well, great. Here I am to help you conquer the problem before it even gets started. So these are our top ways to get a non-Disney fan excited about a Disney trip. My guest this week is a man who knows all about talking people into things. He once somehow talked his wife into quitting their jobs and moving to Florida. Mr. Johnny Shortsleeve, welcome back to the show.
100% true. I just said, you know what, enough of living off, just going to Walt Disney World a couple times a year. I mean, I love living in Florida, man. It's a great, great place to live. And I regret it 0%. I love living here. I'm so grateful to be living here. So that story is 100% true. So thanks for having me back, man. Appreciate it.
No, dude, thank you for coming back on. And even with the armadillos and the chupacabra and the swamp ape and the stink ape and all that stuff, you still like it there, huh?
Yes, and don't forget the Slender Man. They're making a movie about Slender Man now.
It's so funny as I saw that. I just laughed.
I think what happened was Hollywood heard us talking about him and decided, you know what, we need to put something out about this character.
What did you call him the one episode? Was it the Thin Man?
I was a little tired or something. I misspoke, called him a Thin Man by accident.
Because I never caught it. And then later you were like, I think you texted me the next day. You were like, did you put the episode up? I called him the Thin Man. I was like, I don't even know who he is. And then I looked him up afterwards, and then I got it. But I didn't even get it. I never caught it at all.
It just goes to show you, man, none of this stuff is rehearsed or I mean, I honestly, if it doesn't fit on a 3x3 Post-it note, it doesn't come with me to the recording booth.
Yeah, the old booth in the yard that you build out of 2x4s and old donated winter coats.
Oh, I didn't build it. Grandma built it.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
I tell you what, man. If she gets out in the wood shop, you don't get anywhere near her. I used to try to help her out because I thought it was just a nice little bonding session, me and her. But she gets to the point where, she needs her independence for space. She kind of zens out. The problem is I really am worried about her. She doesn't use any safety gear. No goggles, no ear protectors, no glove, nothing. She's old school like that. And I don't know. Maybe that's the secret to living a long time.
Maybe she's how old now?
I lost count. I mean, I don't know if she even knows anymore. We have to go check her ID and slice her open, count the rings. I don't know.
All right, man. Well, all right. I got to get serious. Let's get into the show here.
Yeah, kids, wear safety gear. Don't be like grandma.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Eyes, ears, gloves. Wear the knee pads too. Even if you're standing up, so wear the knee pads.
I don't know if anybody's coming to this show for safety advice, but I'm glad that you gave it.
Well, you know what? I'm not the one. You know who we should consult about this? Safety Dave. Shout out, brother. How you doing, buddy?
There you go. Wow, that was an early Safety Dave reference.
I know.
Really
which is funny because all his neighbors call him Danger Dave.
Yeah. All right. So here's what we wanted to do with this episode, right? We all have that person or know that person in our lives that isn't a Disney fan. Not only are they not Disney fans, they're not into the Disney World trip or the Disneyland trip or the Disney cruise. They don't want to do it. They're not interested at all. And what I wanted to do was and I floated this idea to you, and I'm glad that you were up for doing it. I wanted to figure out if there was stuff that we could kind of talk about on this episode of the show to kind of get people who weren't Disney fans to get excited about a Disney trip. Or a trip to Walt Disney World. So that's what, I hope that's what you did. That's what I did. That's what my list looks like, is things that I could get non-Disney fans excited about for a Disney trip. That's the way you took it, right? Hopefully.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
These mythical creatures called non-Disney fans.
Yes.
And I think it's a really, really cool idea. And I'm sure now that I'm thinking about it, this could be a whole podcast series in and of itself, because there really are a lot of ways to take a look at what there are, the things that there are to experience at Walt Disney World, and to paint them in a way that would allow somebody to say, oh, you know what, it's more than just a meet and greet with Mickey Mouse. There are a lot of really cool experiences and takeaways that you can enjoy at Walt Disney World, and it can be other than what somebody might think as being the stereotypical stand in line and wait to meet Mickey Mouse kind of experience. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. I love meeting Mickey Mouse. I think it's a lot of fun to do that. But there's so much more. And hopefully this will kind of, at least for me, on my 3x3 Post-it note, I put down some of the ones that I thought would be really good as ammo for somebody to use for that friend or family member, that for the Disney fan that would want to have join them, to kind of introduce them to some of the cool things that would be easy to talk about, and hopefully get them warm to the idea of wanting to come to Walt Disney World.
You put that so much more eloquently than I did.
What just happened? I blacked out for a second. What happened? We okay? Are we recording?
So, a couple things I wanted to say, take away from what you just said. One was that, I think so many people who aren't, not even super fans, like you and I would say we're Disney super fans, right?
Absolutely.
But there are the people who aren't, but really enjoy it and go every couple of years. And so this episode is geared kind of toward them to convince the people who never want to come with them to go on a trip. And that's what I think a lot of those people who were like, well, no, I don't like Disney. You're right. They think it is. They think it's waiting in line for Mickey or waiting in line for a hot dog or which there's nothing wrong with that, Casey's Corner. But they think that that's all it is, and it's not. And recently I've had some clients who were going down who were like, I've never been there before. And I get so excited. I'm like I get as excited as they do for the trip. Cause I'm like, you're not going to believe what this is. Like, you think it's an amusement park. It's not that. It's hard to explain. I've been on trips with people their first time there, and you pass through the gates and you're on Disney property, and I'm like, here we are. And they're like, where are we? And I'm like, you're in Disney World. And they're like, you're in Walt Disney World right now. And they're like, no, this is a highway. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, this is all, like, it's hard for them to fathom that all this area, all this land, it's owned by the company. It's really a hard thing to understand until you're there. It really is. The other thing I wanted to take away from it was, you are super well prepared for these shows. You must write really, really small on that Post-it note because you always have a ton of information for people. So I appreciate you and how small you must, unless you write it regular size and then photocopy it down and fit it on that little, that, you know, high school style where people used to cheat, put a little photocopy it down and put it in their hand.
No, hold on a second. Pause the recording. I'm gonna clap so you know to pause. I make a lot of this stuff up. Don't tell anybody. Okay? It's all I'm just rolling with the punches. Okay, you can record again.
You're a good talker. That's all there is to it.
And you know what I'll say also now that we're recording again, is the other thing I think is interesting is that there's a lot of references to Walt Disney World pop culture that I think will shape someone's opinion of it. And I would say probably in a kind of negative way, because even though it may not be intended to be that way, you might hear it referenced in like a Jim Gaffigan bit or on a Golden Girls episode. Shout out to Chuck Rodriguez. How you doing, buddy? And you might see how it's portrayed in those mediums and go, you know what? Blanche didn't have a good time at Magic Kingdom. Why would I have a good time at Magic Kingdom? So that is unfortunately, I think, part of the reason why I think so many people haven't really kind of warmed up to the idea of seeing what there is to do at Walt Disney World. And hopefully we'll throw out a few interesting little nuggets that'll be interesting to kind of open their eyes.
Dude, I love that intro. With that, I had nothing else for me to say. You have to start with your first one.
All right, man, let's do it. And the first, this is no particular order, but the first one I threw out there because I just did this the other day, and I thought, you know what, this is definitely one that should make the list. It's the Hoop-de-Doo musical review at Fort Wilderness. And here's why I think this is a great one, because I think it's kind of a really, really risky one in some cases, because if you tell somebody who's already kind of on the fence about this idea of going to Walt Disney World, hey, I want to take you to a dinner theater show where there's a lot of singing and dancing, that right there in and of itself doesn't really sell the idea too much. But I think there's a lot more to it that really does help to maybe things, at least my experience of it, can do that. I mean, yeah, there's singing, there's dancing, but it's an interactive show. It's not just on the stage. I mean, the show does come out into the crowd a lot. So, and the performers, the Pioneer Hall players, they get out there and they actually do interact with the guests, and that becomes part of the show. The food's amazing. Fried chicken, ribs, beans, cornbread. Hey, man, unlimited Yingling beer. What?
Yeah,
that's right.
Nice plus.
Look, man, I had Ninja Mark as my server when I was there a couple days ago. Ninja Mark, I would be polishing off the bottom of a mason jar of Yingling, and I sit back to rip off a nice belch. And as soon as I open my eyes and come to, guess what's sitting in front of me? A brand new mason jar full of Yingling. Shout out to Ninja Mark. How you doing, buddy? So, look, and then they have like an unlimited sangria and wine, but don't go there for the free booze. But go there for the free booze. It's really good. So, hey, the fried chicken, I mean, it's all, if you want more fried chicken, they'll get you another bucket of fried chicken and the strawberry shortcake. If you tell somebody, they have this really great strawberry shortcake, there's a problem with that, because I unfortunately think strawberry shortcake gets a really bad rap because so many of us have had just mediocre strawberry shortcakes. This is next level exponential.
It's not your grandfather's strawberry shortcake. It's
no,
different.
I mean, hey, look, I got to say it, because if I don't, I know she's starting to listen. Grandma, I love you. You make the best strawberry shortcake in the world, Grandma. Let me speak alone. She doesn't. So, the strawberry shortcake there is absolutely amazing. It's one of these meals where, it's like a 2-hour show, but if you're with kids, it's okay to get up and dance and sing. They have, some stuff the kids can get up and do, but it's one of these things where you're done with it and you went, holy smokes, that was a good time. Yeah. I had so much fun just watching that show and being a part of the show, clapping and singing and dancing. The food's great. But here's my pro tip. All right, everybody. So grab out your pens and papers. Here's the pro tip from Johnny Shortsleeve on how to do Hoop-de-Doo review. So most of you, if you're not staying at Fort Wilderness, or if you're not getting the boat to Wilderness Lodge, or back to Magic Kingdom, if you drive there or take a bus there, most guests will hop on the bus right there over by Pioneer Hall and ride the bus back to the main depot or the outpost, whatever it's called up there. You'd think I'd do my homework for this. I mean, I only got a 3x3 Post-it note on the wall here of the studio.
It's tough. It's
tough. I can't fit all that on there. That's time to do whatever. Here's the thing. You got to walk. You just got to walk it back, because you just got to burn off all the cuts. Because literally, just with the 9 mason jars of Yingling, I mean, that's probably about 7,000 calories right there. You got to walk it off. And I know it might be like a 20, 25-minute walk, 30-minute walk, or it might be, a 40-minute stagger, depending on how many mason jars of Yingling you had. But that's the way to do it, because then you won't feel so sick by the time you want to go ahead and donk off for the night and call it a day. But I got to tell you, it's one of those things where I've talked to so many people who say that's an annual tradition for them. When they come here for vacation, every year it's got to be on the list. It's a must-do, to borrow Stacy's kind of shtick, and your pal Stacy, and which is kind of funny. I was like kind of joking for a second, but it's like, no, she is your pal. Which you're a high roller, bro. I mean, I got to tip my hat to you.
Yeah, rubbing elbows with the few of the best.
You do, man. You do. You're right up there. But I also know some of my friends that live in the Orlando area that they say the same thing. One of my buddies, he said every year, that's his birthday tradition. Every year on his birthday, he goes with his family to Hoop-Dee-Doo. And I thought, that's a pretty cool little tradition there to have every year to do that. I'm not saying you have to do it every year, you have to do it every vacation, but it's easily a really interesting show and dining experience that somebody who's not super hardcore into the Disney brand and all the shows and the movies and merchandise and all that kind of stuff, or the idea of going to a theme park, I think you would be hard pressed to find somebody in that type of position who would go to Hoop-Dee-Doo Musical Review and not have an amazing time.
Dude, I agree with your pick. Like, I hate, just a little caveat to what I'm going to say. I hate when people say 110%, because you can't have more than 100%. It's one of my pet peeves. Drives me nuts. And if people do 200%, I'm like, dude, no, can't do that. Anyway, that being said, I agree with your pick 100%. I love the Hoop-Dee-Doo review. And you know me, I'm not an all rah-rah Disney is the best kind of guy. I will admit, when I don't enjoy something or when I think Disney makes a bad call, this is one of those, I think you hit on all like the points that you have to for a non-Disney fan, right? And you were right to start it off with, if you tell someone it's a dinner show, they're going to be like, ugh. But it's, if they're not a fan of Disney already. But it's so different. The food is excellent. The show has been pretty much the same humor since the 70s. And it's still really funny. Like, and I think, like you said, it's because it's fresh every night. Like, it's, I just saw a Fozzie Bear from the Muppets. Well, what movie is that? The Muppets, the newer one that Disney put out. Not the sequel, Muppets Most Wanted. But the first one, what the heck was it called? Just the Muppets? I don't know.
Is it Muppets Most Wanted?
It's not. That was the sequel to it. I think.
Oh, sorry.
It was just the Muppets. When Kermit goes to meet Fozzie and they haven't seen each other for like 10 years, and he goes to Fozzie, great show, and Fozzie goes, "I do my best to keep it fresh each night." It just makes me laugh. Anyway, just because it's Fozzie, right? It's funny. But yeah, it's different every night. I think because the guests, the audience are different every night. So a little bit of it has to do with the audience interaction and what the cast from the show can do. Like, whenever I'm in a crowd, you and I are both physically challenged gentlemen. I always get my head rubbed by one of the girls. Always. Like, they shine it up with a napkin. Like, or that happens every single time. So, I don't know why that's just the thing that they do. But it's fun, and it's funny, and it's different. And, yeah, man, like I said, the food's great, the show's great, the music's great. And it is something that you're not going to see Disney characters. They're not singing Let It Go. It's very, very different. And I really like it too from, if you're spending a day at Magic Kingdom, all you have to do is take the boat over to Wilderness Lodge. When you eat, drink, when you're done, you just jump back on the boat, take it back over to Magic Kingdom, and You can go to any of the monorail resorts or take the bus anywhere. Or that's kind of an easy way to get around too. But yeah, I completely agree. I love that pick. Really quick story. We were talking about a mutual friend of ours before we hit record. You know who I'm talking about. And we went years ago, before I had kids, went to Hoop to Do with him. He was a cast member at the time and got us, cast members get discounted things. So he got us discounted tickets to Hoop to Do. So we went, and you were talking about the unlimited, Yingling or Sangria or wine that you get. Well, we had I don't know if they do this anymore, but they had a pitcher. We had a pitcher of Yingling, and we were probably halfway finished with it. And a server came over to our table, and a lot of the servers at Hoop to Do have been there forever because they don't want to leave that job because they make a good amount of money doing that job. I mean, it's not an inexpensive place to eat. So our friend said, oh, and when she came by, he said, oh, we'll have another pitcher. And she was a little surly, and she looked at the pitcher that was half full on a table, and she said, not until you've done that one, you won't. And she walked away. So our friend looked, it was like my parents and my brother, my sister, and his wife, or I don't know if they were married. I think they were married at the time. And he looks at all of us and my wife, and he looks at all of us, and he goes, this dead serious face, and he goes, we're gonna drink as many pitchers as we can tonight, because he was so
Sounds
mad.
like a challenge.
He was like, none of us had kids, so it was just really funny. He was so furious that she wouldn't give us a refill, even though I'm sure that was their policy, that they couldn't refill a half full pitcher. But that was my funny Hoop to Do story.
But I want to go back to something you said for a second. You know how you were saying how they would always polish your head?
Yes.
It's funny if you think about this from a physical attribute perspective. If you write down a list of all the possible physical attributes that might be a little different than the average person, or what you would think as being ideal, quote unquote ideal, the one that is okay to make fun of in that way is bald guys. Like you can't walk up to somebody and go, wow, look how yellow those teeth are. Or, boy, you got some ashy elbows. Like, but it's okay to say, woo, got a good shine on that dome there, buddy. You hit that with a fresh coat of turtle wax this morning?
You and I are fair game, and we will be forever now.
Yeah, it's funny how that's fair game for fodder.
It's true.
But no one can say, boy, look how big those feet are. Good gravy. What are those, size 17 and a half?
Especially in this day and age, you can't say anything. No jokes. Don't make anybody try to make somebody laugh.
You can't, man. You got to be careful these days.
It's true. That's why I try not to be offensive on here. But if I'm saying anything offensive, we have a problem. Anyway. All right. So here's my first one. I think I have a couple of them. They sound negative, but they're not. So just to kind of give you an idea of which way I went with my list. My first one is, if you're going with a non-Disney fan, and this is going to sound weird, but don't choose a value resort. Don't. Because this might sound a little controversial on the surface maybe, but I have some reasons why, okay? So I say all the time to my clients, and I say it on the show all the time, if you're staying at a value resort, there's 3 things it's great for, right? If you're going to sleep, shower, and swim, right? The 3 S's. It's great. The value resorts are phenomenal if that's what you have in mind. If you're going and you're expecting more amenities or a whole lot more than that, I think you're going to be disappointed. So I think if you're trying to talk someone into a Walt Disney World vacation who isn't in love with Disney as a concept or as a vacation, talking them into staying at a value is a really tough sell. Like, my kids love. I just got a text from from my co-host of the podcast that I will not repeat, but it was very funny and it made me laugh. Okay, as we were recording. So anyway, my kids love the value resorts. They do, and they love staying at Art of Animation. Amy, my wife, and I, we loved it as well. We had one of the suites. I think we had the Lion King family suite, and we loved it. but we basically slept and showered there. We didn't swim because it was November. It was too cold. But, again, if I'm bringing a non-Disney fan to Walt Disney World, I'm going to stay at a moderate because it has more amenities. There's a full service, table service restaurant. There's more to do there. So I think if you're trying to convince a non-Disney fan to go, I just think that, if they're not a Disney fan anyway, so they're not going to be blown away by the Simba decor in the Lion King suite or the Lightning McQueen, table at the Car suite at Art of Animation. So to me, I say, wait the year, save up a little more, stay at a moderate resort, and your non-Disney fan will have, something else to look forward to outside the parks. So that's my number one.
I think that's a really good point. And I would also add is that, you have to kind of be in a mode where, I know you have to be mindful of budget, but you do get what you pay for. Because you mentioned the whole, the value resort kind of thing. I mean, let's even just to blow it out for purposes of the example that you put out there. I mean, say you take your non-Disney loving friend to the Super 8 on 192. I mean, they got those Central Florida lung snakes running down through there, down in the halls.
Right.
That's not a good time. You think they're going to want to come back to go see Walt Disney World? That's all they're going to remember.
The lung snakes.
Yeah. Oh, they'll get you.
That must be a native Florida species.
They'll take a toe off. I'm not joking.
It's so funny that when I had you on the live show last week, I rewatched it and it was like me just laughing. I'm like Ed McMahon. I'm sitting back in the chair. You're ripping off one-liners and I'm like, ha ha, that is correct, sir. Ha ha.
What was his bit? Hi-oh.
Yeah. It was the hi-oh. Every time Carson said something funny, that's what he did.
I wonder how many listeners saw Carson and McMahon do their thing.
I was a kid when, I don't even know when Carson retired. Was it the early? I bet it was the early 90s. I think he was going against Arsenio back in the day.
Yeah.
But Carson went out on top. He went out number one ranked show still at in the late night wars. Like it was him versus. I don't think Letterman had started. No, he hadn't, because it was a fight over who was going to get that spot at the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
So Carson went out on top with the Tonight Show. But I used to watch it when I was a kid. My mom tells stories about me all the time that I was always like this kid that stayed up, and I remember laying in bed or laying on my couch when I was a kid watching Carson. I loved it. But I don't know. I don't even think I was like 12 or 13. Excuse me, when he retired. So, but yeah, it was. Then he would do the Karnak. Remember Karnak when he would hold the
card up to his head?
Yeah, what was the sealed envelope? And
the envelope, yeah.
And he would have he would say three things, like I don't know. This is going to be bad because I'm combining two shows into one. But he would say like General Lafayette, Cliff Clavin, and Walt Disney. They would open it and three people who have never been in my kitchen. And then that was the whole bit. That was a Cheers bit that I just combined. It was bad. Anyway, maybe we should just move on. I destroyed that joke. You should probably go on to your next one.
No, man, we good. It's good. Always good talking about Carson, man. He was a good dude.
Dude, what I loved about him was I read a cool story, and he and Leno had a big rift when he retired because he always thought the show was going to go to Letterman, and he and Letterman remained friends. He and Leno didn't, apparently, after he retired. But he used to, up until the time of his death, he would, read the paper in the morning and then write out a couple of jokes to Letterman. Like, write out a couple of jokes that he would think of from the morning paper and then, email them to Letterman to use. And Letterman would sometimes use them in his monologue. So I thought that was really cool.
Well, the other really cool thing about him was I heard he was a performing introvert. Like, you saw him at late night. He was, this kind of gregarious character, fun-loving, laughing, just great with people. but as soon as the cameras are off, he kind of retreated into a shell. Like, he was a very reclusive kind of guy.
That's how Letterman was too. Letterman, same way. Like, he just amazingly outgoing on the show. And I had seen him. I went to see Letterman in person a couple of times. I was in the audience at the show. I actually got. This is really funny. I'm going to go off the rails. I got in trouble by a security guard at a Letterman show. But Letterman used to, just talk to his guests the entire time when the cameras were rolling, and then they take those commercial breaks in real time, even though they're filming the show at 5:00 in the afternoon. They do the commercial breaks, and it's still like a 2-3 minute commercial break, whatever it is. And he would instantly, Letterman, every time, he wouldn't look at the guests. He would get up, put his jacket, his coat on the back of his chair and walk away. And then he would literally, when he had 10 seconds left, would come back, put his jacket on, put a cigar out under the desk, and then act like he and the guests were talking. Like, it was a really weird thing to see in person. But
how'd you get in trouble?
yeah, so I knew you were going to ask. I forgot. So
left me hanging.
Yeah, so they, my brother and I went to see Letterman, and he had. Do you remember an actress named Piper Perabo? She was in Coyote Ugly. Was her big thing. She came back last year, like a USA show where she was like an FBI agent or a cop or something. But we saw her probably early 2000s, maybe 2004 or so, and she was in a new show. Really, really like pretty girl. And, we were in our early 20s, and I was, and they introduced her, and they told us before the show, listen, there are microphones in the ceiling above your head. Don't scream, don't yell, don't say anything. Don't woo. One thing you can't do is woo. So I was like, all right, so like no Ric Flair. Ric Flair would not be welcome in that audience. Every time someone would come out, he'd be like, woo. So they say don't woo. So okay, so all right. So I'm there, and there was this guy, Pat, who was famous on the Letterman Late Show, it was a Pat security guard. And I always thought he was a character, but he wasn't. He was a real like security guard that was off to the side. And we had like second row seats on Letterman. So we're like, 15 feet from Letterman. Super exciting. So she comes out, and he introduces her, and I'm clapping my hands. And it's a pretty girl, and I'm in my 20s, and I just let out the biggest woo. And yeah, he came over. This guy, Pat, came running over to me and grabbed my shirt. Like, not nicely either. Like a fifth grade teacher would grab you when you were a kid. And he grabbed my shirt, and he looked at me like all angrily. And he goes, put his finger in my face, and he goes, no wooing. So that's how I got in trouble at the Dave Letterman show. I got in trouble. And my brother still says it to this day when we're kidding around. He'll tell me no wooing. So that's a long story, but sorry.
Dude, man, you're lucky you didn't get blacklisted.
I'm lucky Dave didn't notice it and kick me out. That would have been really bad if it was like if it made the air.
They ruined the show. They had to cut and then reintroduce her again.
Oh my! I don't think he would have stood for that. Anyway, sorry, man. So is it your turn? My turn? Are we recording, as you say?
Yeah. What are we talking about? No, I got my second one on the Post-it note here. So this one I think is an easy sale for many potential non-Disney soon-to-be converts, so we'll call them that, who are outdoor enthusiasts who are into sports, is golf. Walt Disney World is an amazing golf destination. I know of a lot of people who they are 100 every single time, 110% of the time. You know what I'm saying? That's called a callback right there. That's called a callback. They 100%, 110% of the time they're bringing their golf clubs with them, or as they say over in Scotland, golf. And they are.
I think that's how I say it in Philadelphia, actually.
Really?
I don't say it the way you say it.
Is that how they say it when they have a mouthful of Philly cheesesteak?
Come on, it's cheesesteak here, man. We don't say Philly cheesesteak.
Oh, you don't call it a Philly cheesesteak in Philly?
No, it's like in China. They don't call it Chinese food. It's just food.
What do they call cream cheese up there?
It's not cream cheese isn't actually from here. That's
So the brand Philadelphia?
just cream cheese. Yeah, the brand's not from here. It's just the name.
It's so on the packaging there, does it just say cream cheese?
No, it says Philadelphia cream cheese.
Okay.
But it's not
That's
actually from Philadelphia, is what I'm saying.
There's a poor stock boy in the back who's got his Sharpie out. He's just scratching out Philadelphia packaging.
Oh, angrily.
Like, can't wait till I get to move back to Des Moines.
You get to call it Philly cheesesteak in Des Moines. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So golf, man. I don't know what the latest count was. I mean, at one time they were saying they had 99 holes of golf, like Jay-Z had 99 problems. And good reference, man. Good reference.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's mediocre. Anyway, I don't want to go on the rails on that one.
I couldn't go back and forth with Jay-Z. I'd be in trouble. I don't know. I can't tell you a Jay-Z song.
Yeah, you're not missing out on much. Anyway, so golf. Yeah, great golfing over Walt Disney World. I've had the chance to play golf there. I used to be a really, really, really good golfer. I was the captain of my golf team in high school when I was a senior. But get this, I was the worst golfer. I was the worst golfer on the team, but I was the captain. And you know why? Because I was the most responsible. That just tells you who I was playing with. You were literally the bad news bears of golf teams when I was in high school. We had freshmen out there smoking cigars on the course. Like, this was a ragtag. Yeah, but, when you're 13, 14, you're out there smoking a cigar on a golf course. Well, what the heck does that say about your public school that you're going to?
Yeah, not a lot.
Oh man, we were a ragtag bunch, and so yeah, there's one guy. I mean, but they knew the coach. He liked to sit in the clubhouse and then drink beer while we were out playing.
Is he
and
Walter
practice.
Matthau?
Basically, I mean, he wasn't as young as Walter Matthau, but I was worried about this was pre-Goober. Like, he drove himself home. I don't know how he did it, but
jeez.
But yeah, I'd be the one who he felt the most comfortable would tell everybody, hey, when you're ashing your cigars, ash it over by the water, not on the tee box or in the on the greens, because you're going to set the place on fire, destroy the wildlife. I was the only one that had the confidence to say that to these guys. I had one guy who would senior in high school show up. He had I don't know how he did this. He'd bring these pre-made Mississippi mudslide things from home. Like, okay, going off the rails. Anyway, golf's great at Walt Disney World, everybody. I played the courses before. You know what's beautiful? I mean, the greens and the courses, they play amazing. I mean, they are really, really well kept. They spend a lot of money taking care of the courses. I think Arnold Palmer's golf company, RIP, shout out to Arnold Palmer and all his beverages. And they manage the courses now, but they have some really cool packages. So if you're going to come to Walt Disney World and you want to bring someone who's, a soon-to-be convert, they're a golfer, just say, hey, bring your club. There's going to be some great golf there. Because that's the thing that a lot of golfers like. And that's so if you have a soon-to-be convert friend, family member portfolio, that's a good one. And you know that they like to golf. One of the things that golfers like to do is they like to try new courses out and see, just to basically like put a little notch in their belt of all the places they played. Great deals, like, depending on the time of the day, they have some like sunset deals or early morning deals. So it's not super expensive if you are traveling on a budget and you want to sneak some golf in there. Little seminars, they have clinics and all kinds of cool stuff. They have pros here that do lessons. So I know, and getting a lesson is a lot of fun if you're somebody who likes to golf. And I think that could be a cool way to kind of offset some of the sensory overload experiences that somebody might be going through if they're soon to be convert, because, having that time outdoors, which in nature, when it's quiet and you can kind of be alone with your thoughts or, with your foursome that you're with or whoever you're playing with, that I think is nice in terms of just therapy, just to be able to relax. And if that's going to be what you're doing and during your time is to vacation, that can be a very relaxing thing for somebody, just to say, you know what, I'm gonna treat you to something special. I'm gonna get you an 18-hole round on one of the days we're there. I think that would be a lot of fun. That could be a really good carrot to dangle in front of somebody who is a soon-to-be convert.
Yeah, man, I really like the golf thing. I had I forget what it was when I was when I lived in Florida years ago. I had a membership where I could play the courses after 3 every day. I forget what it was, but I remember dragging my clubs out there, and
That was called sneaking on the course. Is what that's
no, it was there was a sunset kind of thing where I had so many rounds I could play after 3 o'clock. The problem was you go out, it was only this summer. It was like May through August. So going out at 3 o'clock, May through August on those courses is pretty brutal. You got to bring a lot of water with you, or a lot of mason jars of Yingling, one or the other. But if you're doing that, you better make sure you have some bathrooms close by. But yeah, I really like
trees are for
the trees. Yeah, I really like the golf courses there. I know they played some PGA tournaments there. I remember going to watch them when I was a cast member and when I just lived in the area. And yeah, they have what is it? I forget what course is the one that kids, I think, like 12 and older can play.
Like Oak Trail is like the walking 9-hole course.
Yeah, that's the one. That's really cool for the families.
Yeah.
So if you have, a non-Disney fan with a non-Disney, or even a non-Disney, kid that you want to convert that's a golf fan, it's pretty cool to do that. And yeah, the courses are beautiful. They're, PGA level, a couple of them, and really, really cool. Not to mention the miniature golf too is really neat there. If you want to play like I know that's not a reason to get someone there, but the courses, especially the ones, not the Winter Summerland one. What's the
Fantasia Gardens?
Yeah. The Greens course, I think it's called, at Fantasia Gardens,
or Fairways.
Fairways, that's what it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
with the real fairways and the water hazards and the bunkers, and it's a really cool kind of way to spend the afternoon. So yeah, man, good call.
Well, and if you have clients who are buying tickets and doing that kind of stuff, if they can get the what do they call it, the Park Hopper Plus option on their tickets through you, the Park Hopper, they can do. Everyone knows about that. You go in between the parks in the same day. Park Hopper Plus. Don't quote me on this thing. It's not on my 3x3 Post-it note here, but a lot of that you can do. That entitles you to Typhoon Lagoon, Blizzard Beach, but also miniature golf. You can choose miniature golf as part of that ticket.
And I think you get the water parks again off the top of my head. As many days as you want. As many days when you get that water park.
Yeah, I think it's like based on the number of days that you have. Exactly. Like the annual pass, like the Platinum Pass or whichever one, Platinum Plus. Don't quote me on anything I say about tickets. I'm not a ticket guy, but it's I know I remember in the days of buying just the tickets, like a 7-day Park Hopper Plus, you get like 7 entitlements to a day at Typhoon Lagoon which by the way, that could be a good way to, if you're managing your budget, say, I'm going to be there 9 days or 7 days, but get a 5-day Park Hopper Plus ticket. And to those other 2 days, go to Typhoon Lagoon, go to Blizzard Beach, go to Fantasia Gardens. Yeah,
man, that's cool. We developed an idea out of your idea. That's pretty, what you did. That's a pretty nice pull by you right there.
That's exactly what a mason jar full of Yingling will do to you.
You got them all lined up in your little office there.
Yeah, I mean that's the way you do it here. It's I guess when Grandma builds a little podcast shop, she does it right.
You got the fridge. You can
little pony keg in there.
Remember the pony bottles, the little tiny beer bottles we used to have? I don't know if they still have those anymore. Anyway, all right. So my next one. And I've gotten a lot of grief by using this phrase on the show. I don't know if it was you or if it was Chuck or whoever gave me grief for it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Don't go commando. That's my thing. And I don't mean it.
That was me.
I was going to say, I don't mean it the way the other people mean it. I mean it. Don't go nuts. If you're bringing someone who is not a Disney nut to the park, don't go nuts and just go from attraction to attraction to show every day. They're going to get burned out. They're not going to have a good time. They're going to be exhausted. My thing, listen, Commando vacations really work for huge Disney fans. That's who it kind of works for. It doesn't work for the casual fan or the fan who doesn't, who's going in with this preconceived notion of they're not going to have a good time. So I think if you go crazy and go from attraction to attraction to attraction, they're not going to have fun. So I think you're really better off going at kind of a leisurely pace with them, giving them, book your 3 fast passes for your day, or if you're staying at club level now, how about that? Book extra fast passes if you pay for them.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I put that up on my Facebook page today, and it's the first time I ever had to take a post down.
Really?
Because I couldn't keep
up with you posted it on there?
Yeah, I couldn't keep up with the negative comments, and I'm fine. I'm fine with negative comments. I understand not everyone's going to like it, but there was some profanity and some things.
What?
Some arguing among people posting, and I was surprised. The people that follow me on Facebook, and they're usually very civil and kind to each other, and I think a lot of the names that I was reading weren't people that are often on there. So,
what time of day was this?
3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock.
Oh,
like
mason jars full of Yingling. That's what happened, man. You got to do these earlier in the day.
I don't know.
Right after they had their breakfast whiskey.
It was after the first 52 show. That's when people started commenting. I think that I can get back on track after that. I did not expect the joke to come out of that one. But I like to, if it's someone who isn't, gung ho about going to the parks and to Disney World in the first place, take some time to explore or wander or do things like the trolley show on Main Street or the Citizens of Hollywood at Hollywood Studios or, at the Vikings at Epcot. Do that stuff. Let them slow down. Let them enjoy themselves. Don't rush from thing to thing and not take a breather in between. Because I think they won't have as much fun. But if you slow it down, let them enjoy themselves, let them explore, I think it's a lot more fun for people to kind of figure it out on their own. So that's my that's my number 2.
Do you think the how the custodial staff, some of them are trained to do the artwork with the water? Now that's a thing that a lot of guests know about. How many times do you think it's happened where some guests are just sitting on a bench and enjoying some popcorn, and then all of a sudden a custodial member walks over and they go, "Ooh, I wonder what they're going to draw," and then they're like, "No, I'm just here to sweep up the popcorn. You're spilling everywhere." Yeah. Can you keep all your popcorn in your bucket there, Skippy? I'd rather not stand here and be your personal sweeper.
I remember when I worked custodial, following. I just that was actually kind of a fun thing. Was when a kid had popcorn, I would make I would hope that the parents would catch me and make a joke out of it, and just kind of let other guests see. And I would follow behind that one kid for, 100 yards or so, and just sweep everything up. Because it's funny.
Honda has the minivan, or now a lot of minivans have it actually, where the in the back of they have a vacuum, like a little mini shop vac. Yeah, so that's cool. Honda has it. I think Chrysler has it now in the Pacifica. I think maybe Toyota might have it in the Sienna, or whatever. So now this is thing where, because with kids, you're gonna have Cheerios and stuff,
my car's
whatever.
A mess half the time.
Yeah, you need to get a Honda Odyssey, evidently. So I'm thinking, how about this? At Walt Disney World, you can rent scooters from the outside. People bring the scooters and deliver them to you, or strollers. They do that.
Sure, and I will do that for you. I will book those.
How about we also rent shop vacs? Like, you can bring a little mini shop vac with you through the park. Clean up after yourself. I feel bad about when I make a mess and have someone. I'm like, I feel like at a restaurant when the wee ones start to throw stuff. I'm down on the floor, hands and knees, picking it up, because I don't want to.
Same thing.
I don't want to, I feel bad about leaving an excessive mess behind.
Me too. And I have people, I know I've seen people around me that are like, "What are you doing?" And when I had babies who would get food all over the floor, or toddlers, I would do the same thing. I would be picking up crackers and pieces of chicken, and I did the same thing.
So those companies that are out, in the rental business, Walt Disney World, see if we can make that happen. Rent out some mini shop vac. So you could be in the middle of California Grill, dinner service, 7:30. Kids making a mess. You're out there. Bzzz, that person next to you trying to get engaged. Like, sorry, we shut off the shop vac, man. How
about this?
Pop the question.
How about somebody has to come up with a scooter that doubles as a vacuum. Like, you know how, like, when you see, like, one of the parades with confetti goes by, and then a cast member is pushing that vacuum behind them, that big industrial vacuum that sucks everything up. Make a, like, Apple scooters or something with an ECV that has a vacuum attached. So
it's like a Zamboni.
Right, exactly. So when Grandma Shortsleeve is zipping through the parks, she can be cleaning up after the kid in front of her.
She brings her own scooter, and she's handy. She put a cattle catcher in the front of hers. If you run into the park and you see a little old lady with a cattle catcher, and she customized the horn too. She used an air horn for a boat on her scooter, so totally destroys the magic in the show. Now, you can be out there in the middle of the Fantasy Festival Parade, whatever that thing's called, at 3:00, and I think I do my homework. I think I do some advanced prep for this. And yeah, she's in there. She doesn't like to wave. She likes to honk at the floats. Yeah. They still wave though. They still wave.
Wait, is it Festival of Fantasy? It's at 2 now, isn't it? Am I crazy?
It's back at 3 now, I think.
Is it back
was
at
3? At 2. Yeah.
It was
big
like
union problem.
Yeah. All right, man, you're up. I think, right? Yeah, it's your turn.
Oh my gosh, I lost my Post-it note. Hold on a second. Where's the Post-it note? All right, found it. We're good to go. Back online. Back online with the Post-it note. All right. Third thing. I think this one is a great example because I've seen this work in my own personal experience with some friends of mine. So one of my wife's friends, her boyfriend is this guy that we're talking about right now. He's the guy who never, ever, ever in a million years would want to go to Walt Disney World. And she would come down and visit us just by herself. And she was cool with it. She enjoyed it and had a lot of fun. So the carrot that she dangled in front of him to get him down here last year was to do a long weekend and do Food and Wine Festival. And that's all they did for 3 days. They just hung out at Epcot, did Food and Wine Festival. And, there's like, I don't know, I'm not good at math and my memory's terrible. I don't know if they have like 400 booths around World Showcase. I don't know.
That seems right to me.
Give or take, it could be a rounding error on that one, but they have a lot, and so they took their time, and they also have all the special little events that they do at Food and Wine Festival, like the seminars. I think ABC comes and films The Chew, if anyone watches that show.
If there's anyone left on that show, I know a couple of those gentlemen got fired.
Oh, yeah, a couple got disgraced. Little recent activities, but you know what? Get them out of there. Let's get some fresh blood. And so there's that. They have the seminars. They have the wine tastings, like the actual events where the different vineyard representatives from the vineyards will come and do tastings. The seminars in the festival center, which used to be that old Body Wars center, that gold dome that's over there between what's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy and Mission Space.
The old Wonders of Life Pavilion.
Right, I couldn't pull it. Goodness gracious. Yeah, again, maybe one of these days I'll break down and do a little homework before we hop on these.
You couldn't fit it on a Post-it note, man. It's cool.
I probably could have squeezed on the backside, but I don't like it right on the backside.
It's sticky back there.
Yeah, it gets all, gums up the Mont Blanc. I love myself sometimes. You know what a Mont Blanc is?
No. Is it a pen?
It's not a pen, man. It's a writing instrument.
Okay. That's what I guessed.
Woo! I cleared my throat on that one. All right. So, I'm definitely not writing with a Mont Blanc. But anyway, so here's this is interesting. So, and they also have like Eat to the Beat concerts, but check this out. No joke. He came down here, 3-day weekend, had so much fun at Food and Wine Festival. Guess what this guy did? Bought an annual pass.
Wow.
He went from zero to hero. Look at that Disney reference right there. Zero to hero. Man, feeling like a hero myself right now.
Sing the song?
Man, my gospel chops aren't that good, but I can certainly try to rip it out a little bit. Let me get my robe on. Hold on a second. I'll get the robe on. And annual pass holder now because he wants to come back next year and just like really go and take his time and take a couple of trips down here and do that and then see some other stuff too. He's a Star Wars fan too, and that kind of, I guess he didn't realize how much of a Star Wars connection there was at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, even without the land being built yet.
Right. I mean, even just the stuff that they have there now is enough that he was interested in. So I'm not saying don't hear what I just said there and think, ooh, well, my boyfriend or my husband or my girlfriend, whatever, my dad is one of these soon-to-be converts. Maybe I'll get him down there and he'll get an annual pass too, and we'll do it all the time. No, I don't. I can't make that promise. You can certainly try. That's on you. That's on you to sell that. And they, but it does speak to the power of the Food and Wine Festival. I love Food and Wine Festival. It's amazing. I think last year was like 75 days. Like it started in August.
Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger like every other year.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of crazy now how long it is.
I know. I love it. I think it's so cool. And they got some really good bands that are coming through for the Eat to the Beat concert. Who was it? Oh, they had. I'm not going to say it, but they have Sugar Ray like almost every year, which is funny because I heard Mark McGrath do an interview. I can't remember if I told you this. If I did, I apologize.
Yeah, I don't know if you said it on the show, so yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so the interview with Mark McGrath, the lead singer of Sugar Ray, was the person interviewing him said, "So are you guys still touring?" He was like, "Yeah, absolutely, we still tour." Anywhere where you smell the smells of funnel cake, that's where we'll be. And what do you have right outside the America Gardens Theater? The funnel cake stand. And I saw that and I thought, how funny is that? Like he is that guy was 100% on point, 110% on point maybe.
You drive me nuts.
And but there's some other really good bands that come through there. And last year in 2017, they had a whole bunch of new bands that had never been there. You know who? Let me tell you the big ones right now, and I'm saying this as for two ways. Number one, if you want to see like the ones that are most popular, these are the ones to see. Or if you want to avoid these weekends because it is the most popular, like the last weekend is usually always every year Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. I know for a fact that those crowds are usually the most crazy on the last weekend. Boys to Men came. I think they've been there before, but they had a huge crowd, and they were really good. Hanson, believe it or not, Hanson draws a ton of people to Food and Wine Festival.
Yeah, it still surprises me.
Yeah. I heard Kenny G last year was his first year there. I heard he had a really good crowd, and he did really well.
Is that true?
Yeah. No, I'm not, I'm not joking on that.
Surprising, Kenny G.
I speak the truth about Kenny G.
If that's your thing, man, if Kenny G's your guy, I guess I can't. I'm not going to,
Man, nothing better than sitting back on the porch, drinking a martini, listening to Songbird.
A martini. Anyway.
Wearing my ascot.
I've seen like En Vogue there. I've seen Herman and the Hermits or Herman's Hermits. I don't know which one that is.
Wait, they're usually at Flower Garden, aren't they?
Maybe I'll get mixed up. Yeah, Flower Garden. I've seen, isn't it Starship featuring Mickey Thomas, I think, is there every year? We built this city on rock and roll. They're there. I know are they Flower Garden?
Yeah,
too?
they were there last year at Food and Wine. Yeah.
I remember seeing them a couple of times. And then, yeah, I mean, listen, you're right. Food and Wine, it's a really cool, it's bigger and bigger every year. It's the food gets better every year. I love Food and Wine. And I think
you want to know, like, my heroes that showed up last year for the first time? No joke, 100% respect, 110% respect. The Baja Men. That group from the 90s.
Out, man.
Yes. What a song. There's no lyrics to it. It's just, who let the dogs out? And that's the song. And they made $1 gazillion off that song. That's the American dream. To create a song that doesn't take a whole lot of talent to create, and then all of a sudden every wedding DJ plays it, every high school bar mitzvah DJ plays it, and you're just getting mailbox money all the time off of a really oh man, I'm going off the rails here. Okay, what's the next topic?
What's funny is Who Let the Dogs Out is, in my family, the end to Happy Birthday. That's 100% absolutely true.
110%?
So, did I say 110?
You did. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to mess with your head.
You're screwing me up. So, yeah, so years ago, all right, so this will be a quick one. I have two cousins who, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, two first cousins. One now is 18, one 17. They're both on the autism spectrum. They're different levels, different, located at different spots on the spectrum, but they both are afflicted with autism. So their dad, when they were little kids, to kind of get their attention after they would sing Happy Birthday, he would yell, and he's the funniest guy. He would sing really loud, "Who let the dogs out?" And they would look up, and everybody would snap pictures because it was like this change from Happy Birthday to Who Let the Dogs Out. Well, they're now 18 and 17. We still sing Happy Birthday to them, but now it's my kids and my cousins' kids and all that. Every time there's Happy Birthday, everybody in my family sings Who Let the Dogs Out. That's the end of Happy Birthday for my family now. And I think my kids will grow up thinking that's a part of Happy Birthday. They'll have no idea that it's not. So,
well, good going sharing on the podcast. Now that you broadcast that, the Baja men are going to be hitting you up with a lawsuit for back royalties.
They're going to want money for my family. How many times did you sing it? I want to know.
All right, how old are each? You got 3 kids. Let's do the math here. All right, you owe us for 17 rounds of our song.
All right, man. So my next one is, and it's weird. I'm glad that you took the tack that you did, because I went differently. Like, I didn't go with individual events or anything. I went with with like strategy. So I'm glad that we did it that way, because it's kind of like best of both worlds, really. So my next tip was to split up. And I know that sounds weird because it's a family vacation and you're in Walt Disney World and you should stay together. But you don't have to be together the entire trip, especially if that person that you're bringing isn't into everything that you're into. Like, for me, I like to do the parks a certain way, right? Like, I like to get there in the morning, to wait for I schedule my fast passes a little later in the day that are the big ticket, the e-ticket attractions. And then in the morning when we get there, I'll do the mid-level ones that won't have the really long lines. And then we'll do the fast passes, and we'll have lunch. Then we'll do whatever is a short line in the afternoon and evening. So I have my technique. But I know that someone who isn't as into it as me isn't going to want that, that scheduled, strict kind of experience. So I think, if you can let them split up, let them go do their own thing, go, let them breathe a little bit, let them walk around, explore, go to a spa for a few hours, go to a nice restaurant. Like you said, go play golf, let them do their own thing while you, like, not crazy. I know I keep saying nuts. Crazy people like us go and do our Disney thing and get our Disney fix. Let them do whatever they want. I think it's a good idea to kind of split up and attack it that way. Because listen, when you go to a park with me, I know I'm a lot to go with. Like, I'm not the guy who's just like walking alongside you, like, oh, enjoy the music and this is a lot of fun. No, I'm different. I'm like, you see that box right there? That is from 1971. You see this right there? That's from Walt Disney had this idea and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm difficult to go with, I think. So I know that people need a break. So if you're going with me and I know you're not a huge fan, I'll tell you, go do your own thing for a while, go have fun, and we'll meet up for dinner. That's just me. But I know that I can be a little heavy-handed on the history and the fun facts sometimes.
Your strategy and talking about the families and all that kind of stuff remind me of a really crazy story that happened to me. I was in line one day. I don't remember what attraction it was, but this big family, and they're all talking, and we're just waiting in line. I just happened to look over and see the lady kind of in the back of the line, and she had one of those "I'm celebrating" buttons on.
Sure.
And sometimes people will write stuff on them, and she wrote on hers, "I'm celebrating," and then in her handwriting, "losing 200 pounds." And I said, wow, that's really impressive. So I said to her, I said, well, congratulations. I just saw your pin there. You lost 200 pounds. If you don't mind me asking, how did you do it? She said, I got divorced. I left him back in Connecticut.
I had a feeling that's where that was going.
Wow, that took a dark turn.
That's a quick 200 pounds too. You just do that in a day.
Just a couple of strokes in the pen and 20 grand with legal fees, and there you go. There's 200 pounds.
That's awesome, though. Whether or not that's a true story, that's a great story.
No, that really happened.
That's funny.
Yeah, I don't make stuff up. So
no, you would never just go for a joke.
No, never. So it's so funny you said that because it goes right. Literally, I don't know how you do this and how we do it together, but we have some kind of synced up vibe that we can easily launch into each other's ideas or set each other up very well.
Yeah, like I'm like the Banshee and you're the Avatar. We just link up.
You're like Kobe throwing the ball up to Shaq, and Shaq's gonna like do this massive double-handed dunk and just smash the backboard. That's how we do it. So
Kobe to your Shaq.
Yeah, I don't think there was that. That's why that was so funny. I don't think Kobe did a lot of assists to Shaq.
No, I think it was the other way around. It was Kobe crying for the ball.
I think it was both of them yelling, pointing fingers at each other, and cursing at each other the whole time. So anyway,
it went a little better early on in that relationship. Later on, it kind of soured.
Yeah, I know. They wish they'd work it out. Get paid that much money. Go ahead,
dude. They would have won so many more titles if they stayed together. They really would have.
Let's pretend like you like each other. Getting paid that much cash, whatever.
It's like you and I one day, we're not going to talk, and I'm going to write that rap song about you. That it's going to like barely get on the charts.
When did doing a rap diss become the way that we resolve things in life?
That's the thing, man. That's what you do.
And the consumers are suckers because they're buying the songs.
Yeah, like was it Meek Mill and who was he feuding with? Drake. I think it was Meek Mill and Drake. I don't know. I don't know the new kids' music. Anyway, before I embarrass myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping up with TMZ lately. I don't know who's doing what and who's just got arrested for whatever. Who's got a new tattoo or had one removed. So anyway, you dovetailed nicely into my next one, which was a day spa, a day at the spa. Goodness gracious, I'm a mess. Let me rewind that. So my next idea was really, you did an amazing job dovetailing. I don't know how you do it. It was a spa day at Senses. Now there's two Senses locations. They have, I sound like a commercial. We have two locations here at Walt Disney World. We have one location.
You were doing the voice. Yeah, you really were.
I know. Talking about there, we have two locations. Convenient locations for you.
Dude, it's hard that I find myself doing it now at the beginning of the podcast, at the intro, because I've said it so many times, the same thing. So I'm like, I do the welcome to the Ear to Their Disney podcast. I'm like, dude, you sound like a robot, but I've done it so many times. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Well, what you need to do is get about 7 mason jars full of Yingling and
yeah, I won't be able to get through it that smoothly.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to the welcome to the Pop-Tart. My name is that doesn't matter. You know what my name is.
It doesn't matter what my name is. All right, sorry.
Because you don't know me.
Somebody's like, I got to turn this off. They can't stay on track.
Somebody's Gronk spiking their phone. Shout out to Safety Dave. Hey, shout out to Frank too. Frank did a Safety Dave number. I heard it on the replay, and so shout out to Frank.
Oh yeah, he did on the live call in.
Yeah, man, he's on it. He knows what's going on.
That was very cool. That was a really cool thing. It was cool to get to talk to Frank too. That is something I want to do a lot more of in the coming months, is the live show where people can call in. Because I found out after, I think you had called and I talked to you. That was kind of, or I called you. That was kind of the test run. And then I got to figure out how to, get you in on the call with the other people. But I took 2 other calls. And then afterward, I found out I had like 5 or 6 people message me and say, when that person called, I was trying to call too, and I didn't get through. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I'm going to do a couple, I want to make sure that becomes a part of the weekly thing here. Just this week I couldn't get it done. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. Go ahead. Go. You dovetail nicely into the spot. Go.
Yeah, so it's funny how you did that, man. You dovetailed nicely on the one you just did about 5 seconds ago. It's a spa day. Now, look, I know that a spa day may not be a great draw in and of itself to somebody who is a soon-to-be convert, because we can say that there's spas everywhere, places to have those types of relaxing retreats everywhere, especially where you live. But I think what's kind of different with this one is that you can use it as a way to say, look, I know that if we just went nonstop morning to night, every single day doing activities with theme park travel, with whatever else we could be doing there, it's going to be exhausting. And that's really not what we want to have as being the end result. Let's have some relaxing time. And they have a lot of packages that you can do, which are basically, as far as I know, you basically go and book a massage or whatever, and you can have access to that facility for pretty much the day in terms of just sitting in the little hot tub and the sauna. Now, you can't sit in the sauna all day. I mean, you'll check out. Or
there's some kind of medical problem with that, I think.
Yeah, I think physically you might have some problems if you stay in there longer than 10 minutes or whatever. And same thing with the hot tub, but they do have some little relaxing little chairs in there that you can sit in the area there if you want to just kind of veg out for a bit. So you can spend a nice little chunk of time in addition to the time you're there getting the services, the treatments, and it's a nice little way to say, maybe. That's the first thing you do, or it's the last thing you do, or you break up in the middle of don't break up in the middle. You break up the vacation in the middle of your time there and have some time to relax. And I think, the Grand Floridian one is super nice. The one you don't hear people talk about a lot is the one over at Saratoga Springs, the Senses that they have. That's where it is, right? It's over at Saratoga Springs.
Yeah, I think that, and that's a lot easier to get a reservation into as well. I think you can get in there easier.
The one at Grand Floridian is not hard either. I mean, you can do stuff, next, for the next day, or even sometimes same day stuff. I think that's probably hard to do same day, but because they need to have the staff there and you're based on availability. But if you're 24 hours out, you in some cases you can be lucky. You don't have to be like trying to get a dining reservation at Be Our Guest. I mean, you got to be Johnny on the spot, 180 days out, working with somebody like Phil. Like, what do you charge your clients to do the dining reservations, by the way?
Well, it varies.
Because you do all their dining reservations. I mean, do you charge by the dining reservation number, by the head count? How do you charge for that?
It's a good question. Should we say that for the end of the show? Or should I answer right
now?
Oh,
yeah, shameless plug hour. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get. Well, that's in the time slot. We already booked that. Yeah, that's on. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I think that's a nice thing that you can do to basically, because that might be one of the hurdles that the soon-to-be convert would have, is to say, I want to be on vacation. I don't want to be exhausted and just running nonstop the whole time, which might be a perception of how guests experience Walt Disney World. And yes, some guests do that, and some guests enjoy running nonstop morning to night and getting as much as they can inside the theme parks. No disrespect to that. That's cool if you like to do that, but not everybody likes to do that. And that can be a nice way to say it doesn't have to be that way. You can have some relaxing time too. So the spas are a nice way to do that.
Again, I think this is the third time you've mentioned the spas since you've been coming on the show. So you lose the man card for what? What do you think? It's a fair punishment for that.
No, you don't lose a man card. It's based on a point system. So that's a minus 10 points. But what I'm going to do is, you pee outside, that's 20 points plus. So I'm going to be 10 points in the black when we're done here tonight, because I've been sipping on a couple mason jars of Yingling here, and I'm going to need to take care of business when we're done talking.
So, no, I've never been a spa person. I've never had a massage in my life. I don't like people touching me. That's true. So I'm a very strange individual when it comes to that kind of thing.
Good luck riding the subway in Tokyo.
Well, I don't think I'm ever going.
See that? Can we do that as like a Facebook Live? You riding the subway in Tokyo?
God, no.
Get off of me! Who touched my butt?
That would never work for me. I have. Listen. There's a long psychological issue that I have. I think that I need to work out at some point in my life. But yeah, I mean, good call. I wish I could talk more about the spas. I know where they are. I know how to book them, and that's kind of what I know about the spas. So it's not one that I can talk very much about, except the thing when they like put the mud on you. Forget it, man. There's no way I can do that. Like mud. I can't even run in one of those mud runs or those dirt run races because of the mud. Like I'm just in no way. Not my thing. So yeah,
the tough mudder or whatever that is.
Yeah, that's what it is. What I was trying to say, the tough mudder. Yeah, I couldn't do that because I can't do that. I can't do those color runs.
Well, it's funny that I know that because I literally couldn't do that. Like there's no way I even be in shape for doing that.
Well, I even when I was like in peak like marathon shape, it's still something that which I'm not now. That's something that I couldn't, I wouldn't want to or couldn't do. It's something about being dirty. I can't do it. I'm just not a dirty guy. I'm not an outdoorsy. I like sports. I like baseball. I always played. I like to run outside. I like baseball, football, hockey. I like all that stuff. But I'm not a camper. Like if I don't have indoor plumbing and a bed, forget it. I'm not.
I just do the glamping, man.
Was right with the big tents.
Yeah, the teepees, and they had the the nice plush beds and the sinks and the turlets.
Yeah, and the heaters and that's what I would have to do. There's no way I'm doing anything other than that. I'm not an outdoorsman, if you will. All right, so what is this? It's my fourth one. Okay, so my next one. Again, is kind of following the same track that I've been following. Excuse me. To convince a person to go that's not a Disney fan is to spend a day off property. Listen, Disney has a ton to offer in Walt Disney World, right? You don't really have to leave property if you're a big Disney fan. But if you're not, it might be nice to take a break from the pixie dust and all of that. I mean, there is a lot to do around Central Florida and the Orlando area. You can spend some time away from Walt Disney World. I mean, go to one of the other parks down the road there. I booked those as well. There's a couple other theme parks and a park with some fish. I can do all of that. I help you book that stuff. You can take a trip to Kennedy Space Center or Cocoa Beach. They're not very far from Walt Disney World. You can get transportation to both places from on or right around a Disney property. Or one of my favorite things is go over to Celebration. Like I used to live in Celebration. I love it over there. There's a couple little restaurants, a couple little bars. I believe there's still a sushi place and an Italian place over there. Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't been there for a while.
Yeah, it's good. Those are still there. There's a really good ice cream shop over there, but it's a chain, but it's really good ice cream.
And yeah,
Kilwins.
Yeah, you mentioned that before, I think. And then what's the Cuban restaurant? Is that still there too?
Yes, it is on the where it's now the theater's not there anymore.
Right,
it's on the other side of the theater. Yeah.
What the heck is the name of it? They have the 1905 salad there. I forget the name of the restaurant. I'm kicking myself right now. That is one of my favorite.
Talk about me losing a man card, and you're talking about that salad's the first thing you mentioned at that place.
Dude, the salad there, I don't know why. It's phenomenal. I make it at home. It's so good. It's and there's not a whole lot. It's lettuce, it's julienne cheese, and I think it's julienne Swiss cheese and ham and turkey, olives, and this the lettuce and this dressing. And I've made it. I forget what goes into it. Dude, it is the best salad I've ever had. I love it. And it's the only thing I would get when we go there. I wouldn't even get, there'd be no protein except for the whatever lunch meat it was in the salad. It's so good. I forget the name of the darn place though. It's driving me crazy. Well, it's something.
Is it Columbia?
Yes, absolutely. That's what it is. Columbia. Awesome restaurant. They have phenomenal food there, but I would only get the salad. That's the only thing I got. But I love Celebration. We used to live over at Mirasol in Celebration, my wife and I.
Ooh, la-di-da.
I know, yeah.
I know where that is.
We had a doorman and all. We were pretty fancy.
You rolled up there in your Fiero. You had the doorman park it.
Dude, you know what I had? You know what I was? This is so funny because Amy doesn't drive.
You had a Fiero. That'd been so funny. That joke is true.
I had. You're close. It was. When was I living there? I was living there in 04, 05. I had a 1996 Nissan Sentra, and
that's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
But that's what I can't tell you the nickname that we gave it. It's not derogatory. It's just it's not a nice word that we used to call it. But before I moved to Florida, my buddies, I was working at a restaurant. So, I was a bartender and a server, and I would work late till 3 or 4 in the morning. So I would sleep till noon, the next day. So they all came over, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and got the keys from my mom and took the car. And remember we were talking about Exhibit recently on one of the shows. They pimped my ride. They took it. They got my 96 Nissan Sentra. They took as a going away present when I was moving to Florida. They took the radio out and put like a CD. Remember, this is 04, I think it was. They put a CD player in. But it was one of those backlit, lit up, like red, like light CD players. They put light up dice in a mirror. They put seat covers and a like these leather seat covers and a leather steering wheel cover. They put stickers on the windows and flames on the sides of the car. And then they put spinners on the rims on this thing. So that's what I drove to Florida, was my pimped out Nissan Sentra. And that's what I would park at Celebration at Mirasol every day. So,
There's a joke about, you see these guys with the cars, they, not the 96 Sentras. I mean, that's next level. But like, like the Mustangs and the Camaros and the Corvettes, they had the stickers on there like Borla exhaust and comp cams and all this stuff. And there's a joke saying every sticker adds 5 horsepower. So I was thinking about that with you and your 96 Sentra.
I think they put no fear stickers on the car. That's what I had.
No fear. What'd you have in that thing, man? You have a 4-banger?
What'd you got? I don't know what that means. I don't know anything about cars.
We're doing 3 on the tree, 4 on the floor. What do we got in this thing here?
I gotta get Bob Garrett on the show to talk to you about cars. I don't know anything about them, but that was my going away present. So anyway, so get them off property. to go to try to pull it back a little bit. And there's a lot to do. There's a lot. Celebration, the other parks, the water parks, the Cocoa Beach, Kennedy Space Center. There's a lot to do. So all
right. So speaking of off park, we'll go off Disney for a quick second. So you mentioned the other theme parks. We all know that Disney's not the only game in town. There is another really big entertainment enterprise that a lot of people come to Central Florida to visit, Gatorland. And if you call Gatorland, I'm not exaggerating, call Gatorland and you get the answer, like the answering service for Gatorland, it'll be like this dude in this super southern drawl, hey, press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish. And if you press 2 for Spanish, what happens is on the prompt, you press 2 on that phone line, and you'll hear the guy come back going, ha, 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 I don't speak Espanol. and then here's the thing, man. What you should do is you should have the listeners, like have the first one who can record that prompt for Gatorland hitting number 2 for the Spanish. The first one that sent it to you, give them like $50 off the service pack. When you book all the dining reservations and the fast pack. Wait, sorry.
That's a good idea.
At the end. Sorry.
It is a good idea. Have you been to Gatorland?
Okay. All right. I've been to Gatorland Light. There's Gatorland Light, right?
No, I don't know Gatorland Light. I've been to
Gatorland Light is at the Gaylord Palms.
Oh, I've been there too.
in the middle, one day a week. I think it's like on Saturdays they feed them. This ding dong rolls up. He's not even wearing he's like grandma, no safety gear. He's just wearing his Levi's 501s and his his Skechers shoes, his button flies, and a t-shirt. And he's rolling out there with a whole bunch of raw chicken, and not even gloves on, I don't think, with the raw chicken. Which, I don't know what's worse, getting bit by a gator or getting salmonella.
So roll the dice either way, really.
Yeah, man. At that point, you're next level crazy. I mean, he's if he goes to Walt Disney World and try to buy a Florida resident ticket, we just ask him, "What do you do for a living?" I work for Gatorland. You're a Florida resident. All right. So he rolls up there with all this raw chicken. He starts tossing it to him, and he's in the pit with them, throwing them this raw chicken. Those things only eat like once a week. And he's in there throwing raw chicken bits at these things. And, you think that's enough? You just get to see gators go after chicken. No, he does like his little mini show. He'll like pick one up by the mouth and like hold it by under the chin and kind of talk to it and taunt it and kind of say a whole bunch of stuff. Kind of like, that scene in Happy Gilmore when
yeah.
Is it Happy Gilmore?
Yeah.
Or what is the one where, or Joe Dirt? Joe Dirt, that's the movie. It's David Spade. He does a bit in Joe Dirt where he's like a gator. He works at Gatorland, and he's an alligator wrestler, and he gets like chomped on by one of the alligators, and they toss him around. And yeah,
we're high class when we're discussing Joe Dirt bits on the show.
Yeah, ask me if I've ever seen The Notebook. Nope. Have I seen Joe Dirt? 17 times. This year. Not yeah. Okay, goodness gracious. Showing my colors.
Oh, we gotta reel it back in.
Yeah, we gotta reel it back in. Where are we at? Is it my turn now?
It is your turn. Yeah.
All right. Fifth and final one.
Your big finale.
Speaking of, look at that. I think it's actually not a bad segue. So I was saying on my fifth one, another idea is the concept of Walt Disney World in the minds of the soon-to-be converts is, like we said, kind of based on what they see in pop culture or based on what they know of from talking to friends or, opinions that they've formed that, let's face it, are opinions that aren't based on great levels of fact. It's just more of whatever has been interpreted from somebody else. It's been distilled, so to speak, kind of like Yingling. Oh, boy, that's tasty. And but one thing that I think is not talked about a lot, and which I think could be a great way to present some ideas of things to do that might entice somebody who's a soon-to-be convert, are all the different tours that are offered in the theme parks and around the property. Specifically, yes, some of the tours are geared toward people like you and me, Phil, who are really hardcore into Disney and really love the stories about how this resort was built and the people that built it. Those kinds of things may not go so well for the soon-to-be converts. But there are some other ones like, come on, only 3x3 Post-it notes. I'm gonna try to do my best off the top of my head. Like Behind the Seeds at Epcot,
right?
With the land. That's a really good one because I think that one is kind of it's educational, but it's neat to see how some of these things, you're not necessarily going to say, oh, how do they do it at Living at the Land? And maybe you are there, but I think from an educational perspective, I think you can walk away with some neat little things that you learn in terms of agriculture, and it might make you have a greater appreciation for the process you have for selecting food that you buy at the grocery store and produce specifically, and it might make you kind of rethink some things about what you eat. They have the one. What's the one in Animal Kingdom? It's
Backstage
like the
Tales.
Is that what it's called? Isn't it like Caring for Giants? Is that one?
Oh, yeah, that one too. Yeah, Backstage Tales is the overall. It's like it's they take you all over. The Caring for Giants is the ones that I think is geared towards elephants and stuff.
Right. Yeah, but so those are two examples of tours that I think, if you're somebody who, maybe you're not a WWF annual card holder. I'm not talking about World Wrestling Federation. This is not Mean Gene Okerlund. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about World Wildlife Federation. Is that what that stands for? I can't remember.
I think you're right on.
Oh, goodness gracious! I lucked on that one. You may not be somebody who's goes to the San Diego Zoo or the National Zoo in DC on the regular, but you still would find, I think, a lot of these tours very interesting in terms of what Disney's Animal Kingdom is doing to help rehabilitate some of the animals and keep them healthy. And even there's the one like the Wild Africa Trek. There's a little bit of an adventurous kind of tone, or in terms of what they do on that particular tour. So there's a lot of those kinds of things that, they're an extra charge, but I think they're 110% worth it in terms of the value you get and the experience you get from those experiences. So now the thing is, there are a lot of different tours that are offered at Walt Disney World. And here's my best advice. If you're somebody who's looking to book a vacation with a soon-to-be convert and you say, you know what, Johnny's kind of onto that, something interesting with that tour, but I have no idea where to start. You know what I would suggest for somebody? I'd say, call your favorite travel agent. Maybe Phil. You might be able to direct them to somebody. Wait. Wait. They could go to you.
I do, amazingly. I do that stuff on the side.
Man.
The travel agency thing, yeah.
Why did I think about that? Yeah. So I think, and so the idea, though, is to break up the experience from just, nothing against. Again, I love the attractions and the shows in the park, the normal ones that you get to see and experience with your theme park admission. But some of these other extra things are really, really fun. And I think those can be a neat way to kind of entice somebody who would be kind of skeptical about whether they would enjoy or walk away with anything of interest from a vacation at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, man. And the cool thing about the tours is they're, like you said, there's something for everyone. So, and price-wise, it's the same thing. Like, there's a couple of them that are free, which is incredible. Then there's some that are, I think you mentioned the behind the scenes is like $25. There's, what is the Giants, the Caring for Giants one? Let me see how much that one is. The reason why I'm bringing up price is $30 for that one. You get to see a lot of cool stuff backstage, and you don't have to spend a ton of money on top of, your park ticket. You really don't. Of course, they have expensive ones like Backstage Magic is the most expensive. You get to see that's a full day. I think it's 7 hours. You get to see a couple parks. You get to see the Utilidors under Magic Kingdom. There's a ton of stuff included in that tour, but they have a little something for anyone who want, and like you said, it's very specialized. Like if you're into animals, you do one of the Animal Kingdom ones. If you're into agriculture, go to Behind the Scenes. If you're into dolphins, there's the Dive Quest one over at the Epcot, the Seas Pavilion. There's a ton of stuff. I've had so many people, listeners of this podcast, who have said, do a tours show. Go, there's a Star Wars tour now. And they say, do a tour show, like review the tours. And I want to. The problem is, I haven't done them all. And I know that I'm not getting the invite. And I want to do that show, but I don't want to do a show where I just talk about, what I've read online. I want to do one where I've experienced a lot of these and gotten to do them, where I've only actually in real life done a handful of them. But the cool thing about being, former cast member is I've seen a lot of this stuff. I've done a lot of stuff. I can tell you a little bit about what you're going to see on these tours. But there's some really, really neat stuff that you can do. There's the Marceline to Magic Kingdom tour and a lot of them, some of them are for kids. A lot of them are for, you have to be 18 or older because they don't want to ruin the magic for a young kid who wants to do something like that. So, but yeah, man, I really like the tours pick. I've been meaning to do a show. I just have to get my, get the old black card out for my business expense and get down to a trip where I do like 8 tours and then do a show about them all.
The Centurion.
That should be a thing, yeah. Excuse me, that should be it. I need to get that done, but I haven't gotten a chance to do it yet.
I've seen 2 Centurions in my life, 2 black cards.
Yeah, I think I've seen one. And you know what's funny is you mentioned that card recently, and I had never seen one. And a few weeks ago, we took the kids to Disney on Ice, and we ended up at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. We ended up in a club box, and we were with, it's a nice little, you have your own box with your own server and bartender and private bathrooms, and
goodness gracious, man,
it's super nice. Well, we
ball's so hard.
We didn't have the box for ourselves, man. It was other people. We were like the fillers for the group that had rented the box, and then they had like 8 extra tickets, so we got those. The group that actually rented out the box before they had to fill it were like this group of crazy suburban rich. If you're from my area and you hear the words main line, people from the main line are very well to do. So I saw one of the moms pull out one of those cards. I had never seen one in person. So it was actually kind of cool to see that when she put it on the bar, and I don't know how many people. I should have I was driving my kids, so I didn't have a drink, but I felt like, man, if I could have at Disney on Ice, it was a great show, but what makes Disney on Ice better? You guessed it. Those Mason jars of Yingling. So if I could have, I would have done that, but didn't get the chance to. So, all right, man. So that's a great pick. I really liked it. And yeah, I got to get a chance to do all those tours. All right, my last one. And this is kind of a gimme. I feel bad that I say this for last because it's like a softball. But here we go. It is find the non-Disney fans' entry-level point. Right? Like the entry-level thing, what they love. And we've talked about all of them already. So I think it's kind of, I'm going to be a little redundant here. But, are they fans? There's so much to do in Walt Disney World. Are they roller coaster or thrill ride fans? Well, then we have, Tower Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, Expedition Everest, Soarin', Avatar Flight of Passes, just to name a few. They're great Disney thrill rides, and they're not exactly tied to, maybe with the exception of Avatar, they're not really tied to a character, at least tied to a Disney character. If they're big foodies, they have Victorian Alberts. If that's too much of a jump, which for me, I mentioned in last week's show that that's one of my goals for 2018 is to eat there. I'm going to eat there this year. But if it's too much of a price jump for you, you have places like, Yachtsman Steakhouse or Shula's or the Boathouse. If they're super into sports, well, the Braves play spring training games there. There's water sports, there's fishing, there's, you can learn to surf, all kinds of stuff. So like that's why there's so many things that Walt Disney World offers that you can do. And, I don't know how to surf, but you can take surfing lessons at Typhoon Lagoon if you want to. So find that one thing that Disney fan, the non-Disney fan in your life really enjoys or really wants to try. And they could probably do it in Walt Disney World. I mean, there's so many things, so many different experiences that you can have there that there's bound to be something to kind of get them on property, and then you can kind of, work from there to make them. But listen, the worst thing you can do, the dumbest thing you could think to do is to try to convert them to a big Disney fan, because that has to happen naturally. You're not going to, it's like trying to talk someone who only eats vegetables into going to some barbecue restaurant and, knocking
brisket
down,
for life, man. Yeah, brisket for life.
That's where I was going. Knocking down plates of different kinds of meats and they're not going to do it. They're not going to just convert because you put them in the environment. So they kind of have to get there on their own. Anyway, yes, I was rounding it down to brisket for life. I was going to say brisket. But yeah, anyway, one thing you can't do is try to convert them. But my last one was, find that little thing. Find that one thing they love and show them how they can do it in Walt Disney World and go from there. I mean, I think that's the most natural way to get them to go and enjoy it and have fun. And who knows, maybe they will become a big Disney fan. I have people who, in my family who who weren't Disney fans who I convinced to take a trip, and now they go every year. So you never know.
That's a really, really interesting way to say that, and I mean that in a positive way, because I think the psychology of what you just said is brilliant in terms of trying to distill down this idea of understanding what makes that person tick and what they enjoy, and trying to find that itch that needs to be scratched by whatever that they're looking for excitement and in their recreation and fun. That's it's funny because I have a friend who says, I'm not even gonna say, he has said his family's not adventurous.
Three times on this episode, we're like, I'm gonna, no, I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about iTunes and your ratings. And I want you to keep the G rating.
I appreciate that.
The word he described his family was, it would not fit in there.
It's not the G.
But he described it as being, yeah. But so he basically said his family's not adventurous in terms of food and what they like to eat, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a meat and potatoes kind of person. But he said one of the things that he likes about going out to eat at Walt Disney World is that in many of the restaurants, it's very easy to appease everybody in terms of whatever their palate is and what they like to enjoy. And whatever that choice may be in these restaurants is a very good choice. And it is very nice. If you have somebody who just likes steak and potatoes, there's great steak and potatoes options. If you're someone who's more adventurous, like sushi and 40s, they have options for that as well. So
your
that's
7-Eleven experience.
Oh, it's next level. It really is next level. And that also goes well to the attractions. I really think that was a very, very wise way to put, and is I don't know if you meant it that way, but to kind of cap off the discussion with that one was, I think, a really nice way to seal everything up in a nice little package.
Thanks, man. I actually thought that was kind of redundant, but now that you say it, yes, I did mean it that way.
Yeah, it was a nice way
exactly how I meant to do it.
Yeah, not trying to shoehorn people into things that you think that they should like. It's just allowing them to kind of tiptoe into territories that are still familiar to them, but with these new environments and new experiences that they would have at Disney that they may not have thought of ever having.
Dude, again, you put it better than me. So
poetry in motion, that's what they call me.
You're like the Walter Payton of podcast, sweetness. So what was I going to say? I had one more thing. Whatever. I can't remember. That's my Norm Macdonald when we can't think of what he's going to say. And it just goes,
Donald.
I love Norm Macdonald. He's phenomenal. Anyway, dude, thank you again for spending another evening and telling the stories. I wish I could remember what episode you told the 7-Eleven sushi and the 40 story on. Man.
Well, that on the podcast?
It was. You did tell it on the podcast. I don't remember. I'll have to look into it and see if I can find it, because that's a really funny story.
Oh, that's interesting.
That you told it on the podcast, you mean?
No, yeah, I didn't even remember doing that. But yeah, that's true. That's 100%, 110% true.
Sorry, it's like hitting the mute button as I was coughing, but I wanted to laugh. All right, man. Well, thank you again for always coming on, and it's a lot of fun, and I just laugh my butt off when I have you on the show, so it's a lot of fun. So
appreciate it, man. Thanks for giving me the chance. I always look at him at this stuff.
Of course. And I know I'm going to cough. I have to mute it. Hold on 1 second.
So while he's muted, let me go ahead and do a plug for Ear to Their Travel, everybody. eartotheirtravel.com. Your one-stop shop for your travel needs. Walt Disney World, Gatorland, Disneyland. Everywhere you want to go, Ear to Their Travel will take you there.
Perfect.
You back?
Right, yeah, I'm back. I was coughing up a lung as I hit mute.
Oh, welcome back.
And I leave for New Orleans in about 24 hours. That should be fun.
Laissez bon temps le rouler. Let the good times roll.
As I get half the city sick. All right, man. So,
I'm coming to town. I'm bringing my tubercular.
it wouldn't be a trip if I wasn't sick. So before you go, I know you always like to have a little plug, a little something that you want to bring up at the end of each show that you come on, and I'd like for you to take the time to do that. So, is there anything that you wanted to talk about on here at the end of the show?
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, because I don't have anything to plug. I'm not here to plug or do anything to promote myself. I'm just grateful to have the time to hang out with a friend and talk about something I really love talking about. But if you do give me 30 seconds, I'd love to take it. I've got a good friend of mine. His name is Richard. He's a director over at a little nonprofit here in Orlando. It's called the National Moped Association, 501c3 organization. All your donations are tax deductible. Great organization. They're organized with the mission to promote safety in the moped community. I was talking to Richard today. This blew my mind. I mean, tighten your chin strap on this one. This is going to blow your mind too.
All right.
There's been a number of accidents involved with moped owners and driving recklessly and carelessly, specifically pulling wheelies on mopeds. Listen, here's the thing. They're going right now and they're lobbying because it's based in Orlando. They're going to Tallahassee and they're trying to get a law on the books that if a highway patrol officer, or county officer, sheriff deputy observes a moped owner and operator pulling a wheelie on a moped, that they are immediately to impound the moped, and it's a night in jail immediately. No questions asked.
Wow, that's a stiff sentence.
It is, but here's why. I mean, it's the showboating with the mopeds is gone too far, and here's what's happening is when the owners and operators are pulling the wheelies, they're losing their balance. And if you drop down off of a wheelie and your handlebars are tilted just even a degree, that's going to have the front wheel drop down on the ground, and it's not going to keep going forward. You're going to do an endo from that point, end over end, and you're off onto the pavement. And you know what's going on? We're still trying to get the word out there to the card-carrying members. You got to wear the helmets, but when they're doing that endo, because they drop the wheelie down and the handlebars are turned, that thing drops you down. You dump the moped, you hit your brain on the concrete. You're not wearing a brain bucket. That's what they call them in the community, brain buckets. You get that? You're in a world of hurt, and so it's a sad story because we got a lot of really good people in the moped community, and I hate hearing of these stories of folks who are unfortunately injured just from carelessness and showboating. So one of the things that they're trying to do is promote. They got some deals going on with Bell and Redline, who manufacture wheelie bars for mopeds. They're easy to retrofit onto the mopeds. Doesn't matter if you have the wide boy, the low boy, or the 50cc big hog. They can fit them on there. And that'll keep you from pulling off, because, if you got a high torque motor, if you got a single lunger that'll pull like 12, 13 foot-pounds of torque, that thing will pull the front wheels off, no problem. You don't know what happens, especially if you're jackrabbit starting these things. Don't dump the clutch on the mopeds, guys. It's ease out on there on the transmission. Don't show off. No wheelies. Everyone says it's just training wheels for moped. No, this is safety. It's a wheelie bar. They're doing discounts through moped.org. That's the National Moped Association's website. So I think the special they're running right now is $29.99 for the wheelie bar. Normally they retail for about $34.99. So it's a great deal. Go ahead and take them up on that. So thanks for giving me 30 seconds. I appreciate that.
Of course. I mean, it is all about safety. And I don't want to see people, getting that night in jail. I don't know. I forget, was it a $50 fine, did you say? Was it more than
they impound the moped and
that's what it was.
Yeah, throw you in the tank. You could be sharing that with a drunk called Otis, and that's a bad scene. That goes on the record right there.
I hear you, man. You don't want that going on. All right, well, thanks again, man. And it's, as always, very, very important information at the end of the show.
Right on, man. Brisket for life.
And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There Disney Podcast. Thank you so much once again to my guest, the one, the only, Mr. Johnny Shortsleeve. As always, I can't stop laughing when we record an episode together. This one was no different. I laughed some more. It was great. So thank you again, man, for being on. Thank you again earlier to Megan for her question. And thank you again to Bob Kerr for answering another question on the show. That was awesome. And most of all, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for telling people about the show. I know you are, because my audience keeps growing week after week, month after month. I hear from new people. I hear from new clients, which is cool. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen, to tell people about it, to interact with me on the Facebook page. I wanted to let you know, if you're not a member of the group yet, you should maybe look into it, because the Facebook page, I don't get a lot of reach, so you don't get a whole lot of interaction with you guys when I'm on the Facebook page. So it's the Ear to There Pod people on Facebook, right? Ear to There Pod, P-O-D, people. You can find that by going to facebook.com/eartotheretravel and clicking the visit group button. Listen, I'd love to have you come aboard. We have, I think, maybe 130 or so members in there right now. It's basically just a group where you can go talk about the show, talk about Disney. We can be nerds. You can go in there and be a complete Disney nerd like I am, and you won't get any judgment. So yeah, join the group. It's a lot easier way to kind of keep in touch with other members, other listeners. And I'm not selling you anything. This isn't to try to talk you into buying something. This is just so we can all kind of talk amongst ourselves. So again, that's the Facebook page, facebook.com/eartotherefil, and then click on visit group. All right, just remember that there will be a new episode of the Ear to There Disney podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as a new episode of the Ear to There Disney podcast, Walt Disney World Word of the Week. That is a mouthful. Each and every Wednesday morning. So until next time, thank you again so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Have a phenomenal week. Bye-bye.